Okay, first item on the agenda is approval of the school board minutes from May 25th, 2022. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the school board meeting minutes dated May 25th, 2022.
Second.
Motion made by Beth Johnson, seconded by Sarah Truman. Okay, any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. School board member Archie?
Yes.
School board member Preble?
Yes.
School board member Richard?
Yes.
I vote yes. School board member Gale?
Yes.
School board member Truman?
Yes.
And school board member Johnson?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 7-0. Okay, next item is adjustments, and I don't believe we have any adjustments this evening. Okay, that brings us to correspondence. I do have two correspondence. I won't read them in their entirety, but I will mention them, and then I'll hand them off to Jen so that she can get them recorded into the minutes. But these both come from the Maine School Superintendents Association, and they are both recognitions for Superintendent Ray. The first one is a recognition to announce that he is receiving the organization's Outstanding Leadership Award for 2021, which is a tremendous honor. And the second is to let us know that he has been elected to serve as the AASA governing, to serve on the AASA governing board for the organization as well. So congratulations to Superintendent Ray. And I will get these to Jen so that they can be put into the record in their entirety. Next item on the agenda is the public session. Anyone wishing to address the school board, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and address the school board. Go ahead.
Forgive me, oops, sorry about that. This is all new to me, so be patient. My name is Paul Foley. I have worked for the city of Saco as a school bus driver for 22 years. I would like to inform the board of an ongoing issue that Mr. Ray has created. First off, Mr. Ray has done a great job in balancing the budget and keeping the schools open. However, the cost of doing so has fallen on those that make the least. Myself and my fellow co-workers have been covering many vacant positions and have made many sacrifices all year for the students of the great city of Saco. In November of last year, the superintendent made a decision, to the very best of my knowledge, to honor our contract, which was ratified by the members, stating that it was years, not steps. Not only did he not honor our collective bargaining agreement, he made an attempt to have his administrative assistant make an unauthorized change to the contract to not pay his staff the proper wage. Mr. Ray, however, has awarded, I believe, his Biddeford drivers a higher living wage. His response to that was the case that Saco's union should have negotiated harder. The MEA, from what I've been told, advised Mr. Ray to honor the original contract that was ratified by the members, that he agreed to do so. In closing, I'm asking you people to look at the situation. I'm not here to be a judge, a jury, or anything else. I'm a bus driver. You people took an oath. You took an oath to do the right thing. I'm asking you people, as an elected body, to investigate. Is that asking too much? Am I asking you people who took an oath to look at what's going on? Is that wrong? Am I wrong in trying to correct what I honestly believe and a lot of other people believe? There's something wrong. If it was just me, I'd say, I'm guilty. But what about the other people? What about the other 13 people? I have been trying my very best since last July when I got my first paycheck. It was supposed to be $24.75. I look at it and it's $24. So I asked some questions. You think I could get an honest answer? I'm asking you people not to play judge and jury. I'm asking you people to accept the oath of office that you took and to do the right thing. I took care of your kids, making sure that they were gotten to school safe and sound. And the one thing that I told my kids every day, you are beautiful people. You have a beautiful heart. You have a beautiful soul. You have a beautiful mind. Use it as best as you can. Never give up.
Good evening, Sue Newmeyer, Wildwood Drive, District 4. All departments of the city know that 100 families will be arriving this summer and living at the Ramada Inn in Saco. And the number of children is unknown. On the final day at Thornton Academy, the staff was told that there will be 20 to 40 students impacting their population. I would like to know what your plans are to accommodate these children who are arriving, and if you have any idea what the pre-K through grade 8 population impact will be. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak this evening? Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public session, and that brings us to the superintendent's report.
Okay, good evening. So just to answer that question, there is a memo in the agenda that outlines all of the data that we have received to this point. I think there's some back there. But there is a memo in there, and I don't know that there's a full packet, but we'll be discussing that piece with what all of those numbers look like. As a superintendent report, we have the school board calendar is in the memo, and just wanted to have a little bit of a update on the building project piece. We met again with the site selection committee on Monday as we begin to move forward and look at traffic studies that are being done. In July, at the July meeting, we will have Drummond and Woodsum come in and present like all of the facts about the funding of a state construction project. There's a lot to that. Certainly not everything will be a state cost. There will be some local costs. We discussed that we need to go out and place advertisements for appraisals services, because some of the next pieces that we do will be about getting the appraisals done. That's a big piece. The last couple weeks of school have been very busy. Last night we had 8th grade promotion at TA, which went very well. And And it's just great to see how our middle school kids, who probably had one of the tougher middle school experiences of all time, going from closure to every other day to a year that started with masks, but we got to finish up on a good step, and they were really resilient through that process, and so it's great to see. Our students have had step-up days throughout the district that went very well this year. Just a big shout-out to admin and staff as they plan those. One of the events that Saco's had for a while is they've had a wellness fair that was held at CK Burns this year, where we had 70 different vendors and over 225 staff attending. Things from massages, acupuncture, dietitians, financial planners there for our staff. And also, they had a little contest and a nice breakfast was served to, I believe, the CK Burns staff for a number of participations. And as a board, we were able to make sure that, sometimes wellness isn't all healthy food, and we did have an ice cream truck there for everybody to enjoy that way, because sometimes you just have to have a little bit of a treat. The other day, we had our 100th year celebration at CK Burns School, and thank you to April for the job well done for you and your staff. We've had a naturalization ceremony at CK Burns School in the last couple of weeks, so a lot going on here in the community. Summer meal schedules posted online, and then again, today was our last day. And we've got a lot of work ahead of us this summer. As we talked about, we do have some to talk about with the refugee resettlement occurring here in Saco and what that will look like, and what information we can share today, because that information is not solid by any stretch of the imagination, because as families who are planning to arrive here in Saco find permanent housing, that means that shifts that family out and someone else will replace that. So you could have a family with no kids find permanent housing and replaced with 3 kids, or have a family with 5 kids that is replaced with no kids. And so we've done a lot of work, and I'll provide you that during the update.
Okay. Any questions for the superintendent? Okay, moving on to the next item, which is Chair's Report, and I don't have anything additional this evening. There are no staff reports this evening. There is only one subcommittee meeting minutes, which is in your packet. There is no old business, and that brings us to new business, and item A is new hires.
Chair LaFortune,
Yes.
I move we approve the nomination of Danielle Brown, Fairfield School Teacher, and issue a contract for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second.
Motion made by Sarah Truman, seconded by Beth Johnson. Okay, any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
I vote yes. School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
And School Board Member Johnston?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 7-0. Okay, that brings us to the next item, which is resignations.
Chair LaFortune,
Yes.
I move we accept the resignation of Alan Little, Saco Middle School Coast Teacher, Michaela Lamar, Saco Middle School Science Teacher, and Patricia Takach, Saco Middle School Humanities Teacher, effective at the end of the 2021-2022 school year.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Sarah Truman, seconded by Jeff Richard. Okay, any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
I vote yes. School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
And School Board Member Johnston?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 7-0. Okay, that brings us to item
can I
C, which is COVID.
I just want to make a motion as we talk about hiring, that us as a community, the economy is one piece that is difficult, and as we see, definitely a lot more conversation of, when gas is $5, when gas is $5 and people are traveling, and there is a teacher shortage out there, that begins to get people to think about movement. And to compound that, the cost of living for housing in our community for apartments is skyrocketing. we are starting to see and hear more from staff members who are having troubles finding a place to live that is affordable on a beginning teacher's salary. This is something that we need to continue to discuss with city councils and others because it's a huge negative draw for us. And this isn't, I'm not saying this is not just a Saco problem. This is a southern Maine problem. You can find teaching positions. If you live in a community that's 30 minutes away, people have openings, and they're not going to make that drive with the cost of gas at $5 a gallon. So whether it's us, as we talk with MSMA, when we talk with other communities, affordable housing is something that we need to think about in this community because it's going to be very, very difficult for us to continue to attract employees because they can't afford it. And we're seeing that.
Thank you for that. Item C is the COVID update.
So I'm hoping that this is the last COVID update that we're going to have to give as we enter into the new year. As we know, the SOP is ending on June 30th for schools. And so the plan is coming back into the fall. There will be no SOP. There will be no tracking. There will be none of that monitoring piece. But we've gone with these for a year, and we will continue with our last COVID update. It's much harder now just because there's so many at-home tests that there's not a tracking system. When they ended pool testing, it kind of ended everything. So it's here for you. We continued with the process for the year, but I'm not sure that's something we'll see in the future.
School Board Member Gale.
Is there going to be, or do we have any plans to either continue passing out testing kits at school, or is that something that there's been a discussion either during the summer or for the upcoming school year?
So again, any of our summer school families that would need those, we have a lot left still for testing kits. If people reach out to the school department, we'll happily give those away because at some point they just expire. We will have a nurse around during summer school, so if anyone at home is watching or anything, we can certainly help out families. No need to spend $20 when ours will expire on the shelves.
Quick follow-up question. Do you know how close we are on the expiries for some of those? I'm assuming we have an inventory that keeps track of that.
So they sent those in just pallets and boxes to us. The first batch that we got came from York County Emergency Management, and those were ones that had a quick expiration date because they were trying to unload those and say, just give them out at schools. I don't know off the top of my head, Kevin, but we can look at that piece. But there's a lot of them. I know that in Dayton, I had probably enough the whole town could have come and got a test if they wanted to. Somehow they got as much as we did.
Sorry, just to clarify, if there's a family that needs a testing kit, they should get in touch with the school nurse?
Yeah, we can put something on Facebook or send home a notice that we can have a supply with our summer school nurse during summer school hours. They can pop in and get those.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Okay. Next item is the nomination of a Fairfield principal.
Chair LaFortune, I move we approve the nomination of Wendy LeBlanc, Fairfield School Principal, and issue a contract for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second.
Okay. It's motion made by Sarah Truman, seconded by Jeff Richard. Any discussion? Okay. Roll call vote. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
I vote yes. School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
And School Board Member Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm Wendy LeBlanc, and I am so thrilled I brought my family because I'm very excited. I thank you for the opportunity and look forward to joining the school department. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Welcome. Okay, that brings us to item E, the resettlement of refugee students.
Okay, so in the last several weeks, there has been info coming to us kind of in drops, and sometimes we'll get a little bit more. But I want to, again, caution everybody that the information that we receive is not like it's coming from a standardized situation. We have had a spreadsheet shared with us about students that sometimes the ages of a student in the notes column doesn't necessarily line up with the birth date in that column. Situations where it will say 4 students, but no names. Stacy and Meg has done their best to comb through the data and also search what we have the ability through the state system to try to search where students currently are registered. So what we do know is that the Comfort Inn, all 100 rooms will be available for refugee resettlement throughout the next year. This will come in 3 waves, which they are planning to do 40% of the population in July, another 40% in August, with the final 20% in September. We have begged them not to take that approach if they're doing this, because we need to wrap our arms around the fact that please send us all the kids first is what we ask today. Send us any so that we can start the process of registration and having an understanding of what the kids' needs would be, where their WIDA scores are for their English proficiency level, grade levels, just straight up grade levels, knowing that information. Now, the money for the lease of the hotel is a relationship between, and Chris, we were on this today, between the state of Maine and the hotel owner. So there's that relationship. At the same time, there is a relationship between the city of Portland and Catholic Charities, which will be the lead agencies for any of the families there. They have been given funding to hire 11 staffing positions to help the families, and at this time, we know that the duration of the agreement is 1 year. As we look at this information, like I said, we have ages of students. We believe we have correct grade levels, but again, some of that is a guesstimate between what we could search in the state system for a kid's identification number versus what they had listed as a possible birth date, which sometimes didn't match up because, like I said, it would give a birth date and then say that was an 8-year-old kid, but the notes would say 9-year-old kid on the side. The other piece of this challenge is that throughout this process, any family that finds permanent housing may go to permanent housing, but there is a contract for available rooms, which we asked today, you're probably not just going to leave rooms open. And the answer was, well, no. So we could continue to see this coming and going throughout the year, which could bring different grade levels and or number of students. Meg and I went over to the hotel the other day, and one of our kind of major concerns is around food. There doesn't seem to be, in these rooms, these are our standard hotel room. It's our understanding there won't be any hot plates or anything available for people to use in those rooms. And there seems to be like there's a lack of kitchen, food prep areas, which is fairly problematic. Sue Morale Food Service, we spoke the other day, and we were able to contact the state to turn, during the summertime, the Comfort Inn, once families arrive, into a summer food service site so that we could provide breakfast and lunch through the summer program right there at the hotel. The other piece that is going to be a big challenge for us, and again, there are many different avenues where we have problems to solve, but if you think of just some of these social pieces, no playground, no recreation equipment over there. And so you could have a situation where there are 5 or 6 members of a family in a hotel room living for a year. We've got to solve that problem. And so we're starting to think about some of the ways that we can support them. We've also had dialogue with TA about some of the things that we'll need to do together about as we start to think about registration of students and how we are there on site helping with that piece with interpreters, X, Y, and Z, how we begin to think about in the summertime, is that a welcoming night at school that looks a little different? How are we going to make sure that kiddos and families have transportation? You know, I'm going to Young School. What does Young School look like? Those types of pieces. Now, as you can see on the spreadsheet, these are our best estimates of what placement would look like. And again, this will change a million different times throughout the process. Our problem area is grade 1. This is our big challenge because there are 19 new students. The other piece that is a bit challenging for us is that while we don't know the accuracy of this, parents and families, for any of us who have kids here, you've received who your homeroom teacher is going to be. So we've instructed principals that throughout the summertime, as students come and go, that we won't be giving out, if someone new moves into the system right now, we're not going to be assigning a teacher immediately because we need to see how we program for kiddos throughout this population, because you are not going to have a situation where all kids go into one classroom. And so this is going to be a balance for us throughout the summertime to try to adjust and figure out what staffing levels we need. What we know we need already is going to be additional ELL staff. We're going to need support for additional ELL teachers, which we've put an advertisement out for that as anticipated, knowing that that's number one. Now, in some situations like the middle school, we have the capacity for kiddos to float through, and we've put some average class sizes on the side. We won't be able to, we'll have to monitor enrollments all summer long in this situation. Now, young schools, a little bit fortunate that we have some rooms being constructed there. So, worked out perfectly in that scenario. Burns School is the most challenging situation for us because there's just not extra rooms there unless we look at UAs on a card or something like that, which we've tried to avoid. But right today, if things worked out, we probably would be okay. And then certainly middle school and high school kids have more options to funnel into different classrooms. Now there's costs involved with this. And we are trying to, and trust me, every conversation that I have an opportunity to have with the DOE, I mention the need for funding. That this is a little bit more unique of a situation here because we pay tuition payments for our 9 through 12 students than a school district that is pre-K through 12 in one system. So for any of those estimated 40 students that would be attending Thornton Academy, we need to come up with that rate of approximately $13,000 per student to pay towards Thornton Academy. We will definitely need to have 1 to 1.5 ELL teachers more there. And then there could be a situation where there are additional special services that are needed. Now, many of these students have not been they've only been registered in a main school since it looked like late March, early April. And so there could be special service situations that we don't know about, or are in the process. When we look at what we may need, and again, until we have solid data and enrollments, you can look at a situation where we probably will need an additional classroom teacher at Young School. We will need several ELL teachers throughout the district. Professional development and training for our staff members. Supplies, furniture, there could be costs there. Additional special service budget, and looking at possibly an additional bus run. Because when we look at 130 students, or 126, I believe the number is today, we're going to have a situation where a bus pulls up to the Comfort Inn, and it is loaded, pre-K through 5, immediately, one stop, all in one. And then the same thing will happen at the high school level. Now, certainly, we are very aware of the optics of that and what that could do for our community, and we will need to pay attention to that and think about other pieces. But as you see the spreadsheet there, this is not an insignificant amount of money. To complicate matters further, we have a passed budget. By law, the superintendent cannot overspend that budget. So as a group here, we will need to work with City Council on some form of budget amendment and direction, because I doubt this will be the answer, but someone could say, I'm sorry, you have a budget, there's nothing more coming, well, we still have to pay a bill for students at Thornton Academy, which means that other budget adjustments would have to be made in order to stay within those means. Now, I'm not sure that that's going to happen. We will continue to talk this situation through with the state to make it clear to them the additional costs that are here that may be different than other school departments. Now, there is a $500,000 that is available, but that's for all schools in Maine. $500,000 is not going to go very far. And that will be based off your October 1 enrollments once kiddos are here. So we have a lot to do over the course of the summertime here to try to figure this out. The other piece that is another factor that comes into this is that any student in this scenario will also qualify for homeless status. So they will have the ability for their family to choose to remain in the district that they're currently in. Those 4 districts that are set to come here would be Auburn, Portland, Freeport, and Yarmouth. Our responsibility in that situation would now be half of the transportation, which, you know, that can complicate a factor too of sending 4 vehicles, whatever those are, to 4 different sites if the families elect that piece. They have that right. If that was a need for a licensed bus driver, we know how difficult that could be. So then you might be looking at vans or minibuses, which necessarily you don't maybe own enough of. We have some challenges in front of us. We have some opportunities to look at, to diversify and to welcome students here into our community. But there's not super great information that we can bank on to say, I need 3 teachers, here they are, this is what the grade level is, and to think that it's perfect today. And then it will be complicated by the fact that 20% of these families, well, again, 40% in July, 40% in August, and 20% in September definitely puts us at a disadvantage to make this go smoothly. Any questions?
Do you have a question?
No, I was going to ask, but it's so loaded at this point because there's so many variables, so.
And I think that's going to be the difficult part between this is that, you know, one day I may give you one answer, and then 3 days later, if 4 families find permanent housing, the whole scenario could change again. It's going to be.
All I can say is, good luck to them for if they are able to secure housing, because like we were talking about before, the housing situation is abysmal at best, right now for everyone, so. It's a tough position for everybody to be in right now.
So throughout the summertime, we're going to need to have some meetings with City Council to keep them abreast of what the situation is and the situation of what this is going to cost. Now, while there will be some upfront costs, there will also be some money that, while it won't come this year, will impact our 279 for next year. And Jason and I will do our best to try to project something, but not knowing how much money the state's going to put in or what the mill rate would be. I can certainly change valuation. I'm not sure that we're going to get a great number that comes from that gives us anything solid to say, well, yeah, we're spending X now and we will get X more in subsidy, because there are so many variables in that. We might be able to come up and say, okay, we think it will be this, but as we know that with our valuation rapidly increasing in southern Maine, that's going to minimize some of that.
I have a question about meeting with City Council. Are you anticipating that we would be going to one or multiple of their meetings, or would we try to schedule something off the normal calendar to?
So I think the suggestion would be is that probably this might be something that's off a normal at some point. I haven't spoken with Brian about this because, you know, we're kind of treading water until I hate to just go and say this is what I think, but everything in this memo now is what we think today. I'd like to have a little bit more solid, and again, part of that would be is one whole, as we were told today, one of the, you know, the group moving from an Auburn hotel, there's some indication that there may be permanent housing for that group, which will take 1/4 of the work that we've done and say, replace this with something different, whatever that may be.
Have you provided this memo to City Council, or is that something you're going to do sooner than later, just to put the bug in their ear so that they know that?
So I've had conversations with Brian, and this was, again, for you guys first tonight, to then pass on. We'll pass on to Brian because, you know, obviously it's a public document. We've had members of the city staff on some of our calls. We have a weekly 8 a.m. on Thursday mornings. There was like 20 of us today, Chris, on that call, with different support organizations throughout the area, City of Portland, DOE. We've had codes, fire department, police chief. Ryan's looped in with recreation. So each week we're trying to get the best information that we can, and Catholic Charities is there. In addition, we will also need to have a meeting because these are pre-K through 12 costs. There also will be a cost at some point for adult education services, because now you're going to have families that will have the ability to access adult education services, which we'll need to figure that piece out as well. But that's kind of on tap for the next discussion.
School Board Member Gale.
So, I guess a couple of questions. So the K through 2, right now, the 36, that's all based, so that is the assumption that's all going to be at Young School? Or is that?
So right now, those students would be on the side of town served by Young School. I think that would make some sense to do that, but at the same time, we'll be looking at, because, when we did the reopening plan, we also knew that 35, 38 housing permits were sitting on this side. So I don't think that would stop us as we look at this process to say, okay, class sizes at Fairfield School are a little bit low. What is the process that we want to use? I would think that there may be several options of, one, there might be some young school families that going to Fairfield School actually would work for daycare, so we may want to have it be a little more open than just saying, hey, you're going from the hotel and any overflow goes there. We also will know that it will be important to keep families together. And so, if you have a kindergarten student and a first grade student, we wouldn't necessarily say, oh, there's a bump in first grade. We'd want to keep our families as much together. So it's hard not having any information other than our best guess off this data until we get to that point. And certainly knowing that families, not all families are registered for kindergarten. They do a great job trying to pull those in, and then there's just the regular move-ins that happen and move-outs that occur every summer. So I do think that a lot of this work on fine-tuning of that will be August-type decisions as we know more, or we program at Young School for the first 80% and think about the last 20% being the possibility that comes to Fairfield and leaving some of that buffer, if we have it in certain places, to say, okay, we're locking this in, we go there. The ability to hire ELL staff will also drive some of those decisions of, that's a tough hire. ELL staff can be a tough certificate to find for someone, so.
And then if 40% are coming in July, which is, when in July do we know? Because that's like in 2 weeks. But in terms of transportation from that location, I mean, that's really isolated for anybody. And I just, looking at, the age groups here, and it's a tough location to be if you're in any of these age groups or grade levels, because there's absolutely nothing out there. Is there any potential, because I know that there is a bus line that stops out there. Have we reached out, or is that a potential, just at least over the summer, to talk to Chad, the executive director there, to help with getting them from there to the Young School playgrounds or anything like that, or even to?
So we haven't had those discussions yet. I know that part of the reason that Comfort Inn was the choice was because of the bus line situation. That can be a next stop on our list. I think that we're really hoping that once we see the situation, that we can work out to some of our community partners and provide some stuff on site at the hotel, because again, not having any sort of outside recreation for kiddos throughout this piece. I've also been in touch, again, this is, we're only talking about pre-K through 12 here. There's still a whole group of kiddos that won't be school eligible. And I've had some conversations with Head Start about what 3-year-old possibilities are out there. What can we do? So there's more to this than the pre-K 12 piece that we have to be considerate of.
Well, I think the pre-K is already filled up too, so that's something to consider. But just one on the last thing, in terms of that, the $500,000 that the state's going to provide funding throughout the state, which is just like a joke, looking at what we have for unbudgeted costs. Is there anything you recommend for us as a board to do to reach out to elected officials or write a letter or be more vocal about the need for additional funding? Because that's, again, like a joke.
I think that any time you can call your locally elected officials and ask them to look into this issue, meet with me, any of those pieces, we're knocking on those doors, we're talking to those people, but the more they hear it, the better. Because this is not only a situation here, this is a situation that Portland has, South Portland this year had 480 students come through their doors at approximately $1.5 million. Those are all unbudgeted costs.
School Board Member Archie?
Can we get a little bit of clarification, because I'm hearing the Ramada and I'm hearing the Comfort Inn,
Comfort Inn.
so on Industrial Park,
Yep. Right there,
right on the corner.
right, yeah, right on the corner behind the Saco Biddeford Savings kind of technology building.
Any other questions? Okay. That brings us to item F, which is second reading of policies.
Mr. Chair? I move we approve the second reading of policies JL Wellness, JL-R Nutrition Program Guidelines, JB-E Superintendent Job Description.
Second.
Motion made by Beth Johnston, seconded by Sarah Truman. Okay, any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
I vote yes. School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
And School Board Member Johnston?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 7-0. Okay, that brings us to other information. I don't believe we have any other than we're tentatively looking at a joint meeting with the council on the 27th. That's the date that was floated most recently. And I know there was an email that went out about that. So that may be the first opportunity to really discuss the item that we just left off with.
And just remembering that night is Meg and I are both at the superintendent's conference with the commissioner that night. So it's not the best meeting for
Okay.
that, but you guys can be there and talk about those pieces, but we are both at that, we both have that commitment.
There's no executive session this evening, so motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion made by Sarah Truman, seconded by Jen Preble. Okay, any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. School Board
Sure.
Member Archie? Oh,
Just a quick, just wanted to congratulate Superintendent Ray again on those 2 awards. That's a big deal, and as noted in the letter, to be nominated by your peers is a great accomplishment. So congratulations, Jeremy, and congratulations to all the kiddos, principals, teachers, staff, on a great year, although it was trying, but everybody got through it, and congratulations to all the kiddos, and look forward to a good summer.
okay, roll call vote. School Board Member Archie?
Yes.
School Board Member Preble?
Yes.
School Board Member Richard?
Yes.
I vote yes. School Board Member Gale?
Yes.
School Board Member Truman?
Yes.
And School Board Member Johnston.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 7-0. Okay, we are adjourned at 5:48.